Yes. Arsenal. No striker. If they don't get a striker in, should they just forget about the title this season?
I wouldn't say forget, but you don't want it to come back and bite you. I think Liverpool will still have a blip. I mean, I can't see them going the whole season like they are now at the moment. But you don't want to panic. I think Ollie Watkins fits the bill. I think that's a great signing. I think if they'd have got him or Isaac, I think they tick the box. But you don't want to go in the market and go and buy someone for 30, 40 million pound that just fits the gap for now, and then all of a sudden at the end of the season you're stuck with that player. So I think if you can get a Watkins or someone like that who's going to produce for the next 3-4 years, I think he's a good sign. I still don't think that's finished yet.
Okay.
I don't. You know what Emery's just said, he's happy. I ain't sure. I don't think you need to say anything. I think there's more to come from that before Monday.
Should Arsenal have acted earlier, though? It's been a long while we've been saying they need a forward in.
Yeah. I mean, you got to weigh up and see. I think they probably. I'd be shocked if Arsenal didn't get him, because it's quite embarrassing if they go in for a bid for someone and then all of a sudden they don't get him, and he's, no disrespect, he's at Aston Villa and Arsenal coming for you. So, and I don't mean that disrespectfully, but Arsenal are that next level for Ollie Watkins, and he supports them as a fan. So, for me, I'd be surprised. You can't just keep on rushing in and buying Tom, Dick and Harry. You know what I mean? You've got to be precise in whoever you buy, and it's hard to go and play for Arsenal. You can't just go and buy someone from somewhere and go, right, you're playing for Arsenal. You know, we've seen that with Højlund. You know, it's hard to play for these big clubs. You're highlighted, you're under pressure from the word go. I think you get Watkins, he's played in this league, he's scored goals, he plays for England. It just fits, and he hits the ground running for the next 3 or 4 months and gives Arsenal an opportunity of winning the Premier League.
Do you think it makes any difference that he's an Arsenal fan and he said that it was his dream one day to play for Arsenal and his hero was Thierry Henry? Does that come into it at all?
Yeah, I would have thought so. I'd have thought so. I think being an Arsenal fan, I think that would help. And plus, you know, he's going to go and try and win the Premier League, so it will help. Would I be shocked if they did sell him? No, I wouldn't. I think if money talks, I think Arsenal tried to catch Villa cold and think, right, we'll go in and offer 60 million. And they would have had a whisper that Duran was being offered 60 or 65 million from Saudi Arabia, and then they throw that on the table, and then Aston Villa go, right, do we sell a 28-year-old for 60 million and keep the 21-year-old for 60 million? And they didn't. They sold the 21-year-old for 60 million. So it tells you something about the 21-year-old, in my opinion.
Which players have signed for Palace because their hero was Clinton Morrison?
Everyone. Teta. At least they went to Bayern Munich on the back of me. I said it. I done the deal, but that's for another show.
You told me you were Birmingham.
Arsenal. Yeah, I'm a Birmingham legend, Palace legend. Every club I've been at, Sky Sports legend. You do the rest.
It's all got something. Let's bring the audience back in. We've got an Arsenal fan. Andreas, is it? Kesh. Where you go, Kesh? What you got?
Good evening. Why is Arsenal not signing a striker? And if they need the money, I'm sure Paul Mercy will be happy to help.
Oh, if what? They need the money, you'll be happy to help.
Why?
Yeah. No, as I say, you can't just rush and buy any centre forward. It's a big club, Arsenal. You know, when you're playing at the next level, you can't just go out and buy players willy-nilly. You've got to pick the right player. That takes time. And I don't think they'll rush. I think sometimes you can go out now and pay 70, 80 million and not win the league and then stuck with that player that then, like a Watkins or Isaac or someone else comes along and you think, I'm stuck with this person now. And with the fair play rule, it's difficult. It's hard now. It's, you know, before you could go, I will buy him for 50, 60 million. And if it doesn't work, we'll go and buy someone else. People are looking at these transfers now, you know, like the Anthony one, the Højlund one, and I'm just picking on Man United, but these big signings now, before 4 or 5 years ago, like when I played, if you bought someone for 5, 6, 7 million and they didn't perform, the manager was gone. You were out because you put your eggs in that basket. Now players, 82 million, Anthony, he's on loan now. I mean, and nothing's said about it. It's just like people throwing money away left, right and centre, and I think now it's tightened up, and I think they've got to be patient. They've got to be patient. I think you stay patient with Arteta, and Arsenal are there and thereabouts. They won't be far off.
Yeah, but if you want to win the league, you need to get.
I get Watkins, and people go, oh, you know, I heard Arsenal fans go to me, but he's 28. Who cares? You know, it's for now, next year, and the year after. After that, it doesn't matter. You know, if they don't buy him, they're not going to turn around to all the Arsenal season ticket holders and go, we didn't get Ollie Watkins, so we're going to knock everybody's season ticket down by £100. They're not. So let them spend the money. It doesn't matter. Spend the money. Put in £100 million, and I'd be shocked if Villa didn't let him go for 100 million.
This guy.
Andreas is next.
Just a question for Paul Merson. Just wanted to know whether Arsenal are going to buy anyone before Monday's transfer deadline.
Yeah, I think they will. I think they will buy someone. I think they will. But it won't, it'll be done properly. It won't be a panic buy. I don't think there's no need to panic. If they don't do it again this season, they'll be there again next season. Been second the last 2 years. They're second again. The consistency's there. They've just got to try and get over the line. But, I think it's got to be someone who's going to come in and hit the ground running. You can't afford to keep on giving players 200 grand a week and sitting on the bench.
Who must though?
That's why I say Ollie Watkins. That's why I say go now, put £100 million down, and there's your 100 million, and just see what Villa say.
They won't need to spend 100 million on Watkins, but the Watkins one is really, really interesting because if they've engaged in talks, and Paul mentioned it before, the way transfers work now, you don't just go out and to a club and say, let's negotiate a deal, and then a minute later the player doesn't want to go. There has to be some encouragement from somewhere that tells Arsenal there is a deal to be done for Ollie Watkins. Now, Unai Emery's saying all the right things. He doesn't want to sell him, he said the other day. Today he was a little bit stronger. He said there are some players who want to stay on the project and some players who don't. He was effectively talking about Duran and Watkins. And he says Watkins is one that wants to stay. So he wants to stay according to Unai Emery. But with, 3 days to go, if Arsenal go back in with an improved offer for someone who's 29 years old, he's actually aged a year since you said he was 28.
Have we been on that long?
Yeah. Feels like this. Who's to say Aston Villa might think, do you know what? His age and that money, we probably won't.
Yeah, but I think Villa fans will never have that.
They can't do that. You can't do that.
I agree with you.
And you've got 3 days to go.
I think
you can't do that. You can't do that.
with you.
I think Arsenal have misunderstood the situation. I think they thought, if we go in for a bid and catch them now before the Duran deal's done, surely you sell a 29-year-old for the 60 million.
Also, but there was one source that told us. There was one source that told us yesterday that Arsenal, the deal was proposed to Arsenal, rather than the other way around.
Yeah, but then again, they might have thought Duran wouldn't go, and then he's going to play for Villa's first team because Watkins would have gone, so he plays every week. And he's gone.
How much was the Arsenal bid? How much was the bid?
Was it 60 million?
It's that whole, when is a bid a bid?
No, how much was it?
Yeah, how much was it?
When they were talking, Arsenal's valuation was around £40 million.
40 million?
Was my understanding. Was my understanding.
For that.
And Villa's valuation was 60 million. That's what I was hearing, what the big difference in the valuation was.
Arsenal have got... I think it's important Arsenal get this over the line now. Because, many years ago when they're going like so-and-so and £1 and missing out on transfers.
Suarez.
Yeah, this is Arsenal now. Yeah. They've got to make a statement. They've got to go bang. We're chasing someone. For them to get turned down wouldn't be a good look for Arsenal.
But listen, you can get it. Arsenal can get him. They're still not catching Liverpool.
You're saying
Simple as.
Villa are not going to do it.
Really?
Villa are not going to do it.
What if they get Watkins?
I told you that on last Saturday. They can go and sign 3 players, Arsenal. And you said Haaland, Isak and Mbappe. And you still won't catch Liverpool because Liverpool are far ahead of everyone.
You're saying Villa are not going to do Ollie Watkins in this transfer
I don't think they'll do it.
But
losing Durant,
you've also been saying the number of players that they're interested in. They're all forwards, right? So it's one to replace not Marcus Rashford, one to replace John Duran, but there's talk of Villa being interested in Marcus Rashford now. There's talk of João Felix, Asensio. If they were to bring in 2 of those players...
But they're not Watkins.
They're not goals.
They're not goals. Felix are number 10s. Asensio, I've seen him loads of plays. He can play up front, but he's not Marco Asensio. He's not a centre forward. What Watkins does and why Arsenal won him, the thing with Watkins, he runs in behind and stretches defenders. You want defenders don't like running to their goal, and he scores goals. Hard-working centre forward. That's not... them 2 players are not... And there's not... No, there's not a lot of space. So, but he does work hard, and he scores goals. You've got Odegaard and players like that. That impresses from the front. He's a different player, and... Yeah, if they do get him, what a deal that is.
But they must, as you said, they must have had an inkling. They just wouldn't put that bid in just to get embarrassed and get turned down.
And I'm just winding up the Arsenal fans. I can see you looking at me. There's one big guy there with big muscles.
Unless we spin it again and it was a token gesture, so Arsenal then can go, we are trying.
Tried.
We tried, but we didn't get.
Could be. So cynical you are.
Oh, I'm just thinking out the box.
Another striker not linked with Arsenal. What's going on with Arsenal's striker situation? Here's Mikel Arteta.
We are trying everything that we can, but I don't want to give any reassurance or not. I don't know. It doesn't depend only on us, so our intention is clear, but the possibilities are affected by 3 parties.
Right, it is time to get the audience involved. Are you Jordan?
Yeah, Jordan.
Jordan?
Yeah.
We can see who you support, so give us your question.
Is 29-year-old Ollie Watkins a good deal for Arsenal? 60 million for a 29-year-old?
Who wants it?
Well, it's not 60 million. That look, this is really interesting because even though Unai Emery is saying all the right things, don't want to sell, and it appears that they're not going to allow Ollie Watkins to leave in the same transfer window as John Duran. There was one source that keeps nagging at me that I mentioned yesterday, that it was actually, the deal was proposed to Arsenal, and it was the valuation that they were given was £60 million, whereas Arsenal value Ollie Watkins more at £40 million. And if you think about what's happened with Arsenal in this transfer window, it seems to be in 2 parts, if you like. Up until Gabriel Jesus got injured, they were still looking for a striker. They were still looking for a forward. They knew they were a little bit short there. And they were looking at certain players, maybe a short-term deal from abroad, because they can't do a domestic loan because they've already filled those 2 spots, Neto and Raheem Sterling. Now, when news emerged that Gabriel Jesus had injured his anti-cruciate ligament, which is a minimum of 9 months out before you start playing again, that was in the middle of January. So I think Arsenal then had to change tack a little bit. And what they had to do then was change the focus of their target. So maybe it's not just a short-term deal they're looking at, but a longer-term one as well. Hence why maybe the Watkins potential deal has come up. And maybe if we'd known that Gabriel Jesus was injured, say 2 weeks before, could that have been approached and eliminated earlier? It's just that it happened in the middle of the transfer window, and then Arsenal kind of had to change the way that they were approaching this window.
Jordan, you're an Arsenal fan.
Yeah.
Do you desperately want a striker in the door?
We definitely need a striker, man. I really want Isaac, but...
Good luck with that.
We're not going to spend the money. I think they valued him at 150 million or something like that. I can't see us spending that money. But, yeah.
But you need someone.
Definitely need a striker, man. We're crying. Yeah.
Can they pull anyone out of the hat, Carvey?
I mean, I think Ollie Watkins would have been a fantastic signing for Arsenal. He's a brilliant striker. I think only Haaland has scored more non-penalty goals than him recently. But the issue I've got with their move for Watkins is, if Darmish is right, and I'm sure he is, and their bid was £40 million, Matt Law of the Daily Telegraph today has pointed out that Arsenal sold Eddie Nketiah to Crystal Palace for £30 million.
£30 million.
So if Eddie Nketiah is worth £30 million, you telling me England striker, understudy to Harry Kane, Ollie Watkins, only Erling Haaland scored more goals than him, he's only worth 10 million more than Eddie Nketiah.
Good point.
I think if Arsenal were really, really serious about getting Ollie Watkins, they should have made their move earlier. But of course, as Darmesh mentions, they didn't know that Gabriel Jesus was going to pick up this
as we've said,
serious injury.
They should have been getting a striker. Help me out here, Jordan. They should have got a striker before, shouldn't they?
Yeah, definitely. We've needed a striker from last season. Havertz is not really a number 9 as such. And,
well, he's a midfielder, really, isn't he?
We don't know where he plays. He plays a bit everywhere, but...
Two things I'd say. Arsenal scored 91 goals last season with Kai Havertz in the team. Only Manchester City scored more goals than them. 91 goals, yeah? I don't think many people were saying then, oh, my goodness. What's going on?
Havertz did step up a bit, but the whole team contributed goals.
Of course, and so that's why I'm saying Arsenal, when they go into a window and they go into a transfer and they want to bring in a striker, they've got to make sure it's the right fit of striker as well. It's not just, I know we had a bit of an argument about this a couple of weeks ago. He was just saying, John Duran, just get him in. They could, but is he going to fit into how Mikel Arteta wants to play? Not necessarily. So they've got to make sure not only it's the right deal, but it's the right player and the right character for that squad.
True.
Yesterday, or others made them for them. John Duran on his way out. What does that mean for Ollie Watkins? Here's Unai Emery.
When they are some teams as well, being interested in the players, of course, is very good very good for the players. And some players, of course, they prefer to leave. And some players, they accept to stay here, to be here, to compete with us here, and to compete with our challenges. And one of them is Ollie Watkins.
Has told you he's happy to stay at the club in this window?
Yes, he's happy to stay.
Right, Carver, he wants Watkins to stay. Could that change if Rashford, as you told us right at the top of the show, becomes part of the mix?
I still don't see Watkins leaving Aston Villa. They're already losing John Duran. They're doing really well in the league. They're doing exceptionally well in Europe as well. Why lose both your number 9s in a January transfer window when you don't need to? I think if they get a player like Rashford or a player like João Felix or Asensio, it'll be somebody to play with Ollie Watkins, not instead of him.
OK, all right, so if Watkins stays, the question, the elephant in the room, is what does that mean for Arsenal when we come back?
Arsenal are now going to push to sign either Benjamin Sesko or Dusan Vlahovic after their failed pursuit of Ollie Watkins, according to Court Offside. Arsenal have spent most of January looking to reinforce their striker ranks. Gabriel Jesus was ruled out for the rest of the season earlier this month after suffering an ACL injury, leaving only Kai Havertz available for the Gunners up front. Much has been said of the struggles both have faced in trying to find consistent form. Mikel Arteta's side saw a £60 million bid for Aston Villa striker Ollie Watkins rejected earlier this week. While Unai Emery would have already been reluctant to let his starting striker go, the impending sale of John Duran to Saudi Pro League side Al Nassr only makes the deal even less feasible for the Gunners. As such, Arsenal have to turn their eyes elsewhere if they hope for reinforcements before the early February transfer deadline, and it appears they have done just that. Having been firmly denied in their attempts to sign Watkins, Arsenal have now turned their attention elsewhere, with Court Offside reporting that both Sesko, who has incredible speed, and Vlahovic are appreciated by the North London side. Now 25 years old, Vlahovic has been a Juventus player since 2022, when he joined them from Fiorentina. The Serbian international has been ever present in the Juve team since arriving and helped fire them to a Coppa Italia trophy last season, which saw him play more Serie A games for the club than any prior campaign. Vlahovic, though, may be open to a move after Juve signed Randal Colomwani on loan from Paris Saint-Germain. The Frenchman's presence may limit Vlahovic's minutes enough for the forward to consider a move to a club like Arsenal, who have a clear place for him in the team. Sesko, meanwhile, has always been the priority for Arsenal, according to Court Offside. The RB Leipzig frontman has garnered attention worldwide for his exceptional abilities as a forward and has a physical frame that, on paper, would suit the Premier League to a T. Leipzig have been eliminated from the Champions League at the earliest occasion, meaning that Arsenal may be able to sway Sesko into making a winter move for continued European football. Regardless of who they pursue, it is clear Arsenal are hoping for a new number 9 before the deadline.